This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.
Most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? Well, a big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Cap'n Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tartrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries. Well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins which have, surprise, tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromate, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. we'd have more energy, we'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other self-conditions as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the Democrats who claim to be all about health care have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons and make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
And we're back. So I wanted to welcome my brother, my main man, Dr. Cedric. Welcome, my brother. Thanks for coming, man.
Hello. Thank you, brother Damon. Hello, brother AJ. How you
Hey,
doing, brother?
I
Thank you.
want to thank you for that presentation you did at the church in Greenberg.
Yes. Thank you.
I got 10 pages of notes from that day. I'm like,
And we didn't even finish.
right.
Yeah, no, listen, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. Unfortunately, in the media environment, and I've experienced a little of what you were talking about, Brother Jones, with regards to people are so trained that whenever they hear Trump, nothing good can come of it, right? Nothing good can come of it. Never mind the fact that RFK ran as a Democrat just the other day and then dropped out because of perceived injustices and unfairness, then struck a deal with Trump. And, now he's in Trump's cabinet, and they're poised to make him as to oversee the Department of Health. Uh, you know, that doesn't matter to people. Anything with Trump is what I've come to understand is just a huge turnoff to people. And it's unfortunate because they fail to see the bigger picture, which is we are talking about health, and we are talking about something that affects somebody we all know, if not us, our loved ones directly. And and I see a lot of the tactics that the media used against Trump over the last couple of years. I see that they're using those same tactics with RFK Jr. And unfortunately, because people still trust the media to the point where they don't research anything, they don't question anything. And I have friends, I have, people I love, people that are near and dear to me. They just never take a moment to actually look up the claims that are made. If it comes on CNN or MSNBC, it must be true. They never say,
Right.
well, let me go and see what he said in the context that he said. Was he joking? That just goes right over their head, right? And so I feel that that is part of the issue at hand, where it has taken away from the discourse that needs to be had. And what we're talking about today is really important. So I just want to start by introducing myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Cedric Bachetu. I am the author of a book called Self-Care Advocate, 7 Steps to Prevent Chronic Disease. Let me see if I can, well, I can't really show my phone, but it's Self-Care Advocate, 7 Steps to Prevent Chronic Disease. And I'm someone who is a health professional, and I'm very passionate about health, especially when it comes to chronic disease prevention. And just to put things in context, in 2020, we spent $4 trillion on healthcare that year alone. And for all of that spending, today in America, 6 in 10 adults have at least one chronic disease, 4 in 10 adults have 2 or more chronic diseases, and 40% and 7 in 10 deaths today are due to chronic diseases. So we're spending all this money and we're getting very poor returns for all our money spent. So it's very inefficient. And of course, this is something that affects us because we all know somebody who's dealing with high blood pressure, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, or any number of issues. So that's what we're dealing with. And I'm glad that we're talking about Robert F. Kennedy's policies because, the last 20 years, no one has done what he's done when it comes to health. No one has brought up these things. And so it's odd that people who otherwise would be in favor of many of the things that he's in favor of dismiss him because of his political affiliations. That to me is odd. I don't understand it.
One of the things I want to ask you before we get all into Robert F. Kennedy, one of the things you said in Greenberg, and I want you to capitalize, I want you to expand on that, is the FDA and how it should not be one organization. You was talking about the Food and Drug Administration. You gave a great presentation. I'd like you to, if you spend a few minutes to explain that on our show.
Thank you. And believe it or not, Robert F. Kennedy holds a similar view. So the FDA stands for Food and Drug Administration. So they're responsible for approving a lot of the food products. I didn't say foods, I said food products that are out there on the market. They're the ones that approve of, the dyes like tartrazine that the video talked about. They're the ones that deem a lot of these things safe to consume. However, they're also the ones that run the studies on a lot of medications, a lot of vaccines, any new drug that's being tested. They have a role to play in it. So on one hand, they're dealing with things that we're consuming. On the other hand, they're dealing with things that are going to treat us if we get sick. So it's very easy to see a conflict of interest there because if I were a bad guy, for example, and you put me in charge of the FDA, well, I'll tell you this is what I would do if I were a bad guy, right? Remove the Spirit of Christ in me, the Holy Spirit, remove that and just let me be all about money. Well, I would approve foods and food products that would make you sick.
Right.
And would approve the drugs that would treat those diseases that result of the food, of you consuming the food products that made you sick. You see what I mean? If I could figure this out, right? I don't think it takes a genius for somebody else in positions of power to figure it out. Okay, and so you have the fox guarding the hen house. Now he's going to steal a couple of chickens every now and again. Okay, so it is simply a matter of you need one entity that's going to be responsible for food. Okay, not full of scientists, but full of dietitians, okay, and people that actually care about this stuff. And then you can have another entity that is separate, a drug administration that deals with drugs and medications and everything. Food is meant to heal. In the Bible, it tells you that food is meant to heal.
That's
Okay.
right.
But when you have a situation where food is making you fat, food is making you sick, food is making you disease, food is contributing to all of these different things, you have a problem. And I am so thankful that we're finally having this conversation, regardless of the nonsense the media spews against this man. They're trying to character assassinate him, um, so that, they'll take something bad that he said or something bad that he did and then just play it over and over and over so that you ignore the good things that the man is talking about, which to me is ridiculous. To the best of my knowledge, outside of Christ, all of us have fallen short. So I don't know what people are talking about.
Right. Right.
One last thing, if you mind, Damon, one last thing you brought
No,
up
no, go ahead, because I'm trying to find
at the
something.
church. At the church, you talked about how we as a people are told that what we're dealing with is genetic and in our DNA. And you gave a great presentation about if this doesn't go on in Africa, where we're from, then it's not in our genetics. You explained all of that, and if you can spend a few minutes on that.
Well, no, Brother Damon, and that's a great point, Brother Woodson. Brother Damon actually has the perfect example.
Yeah,
I'm
actually, yeah.
going to let him share it with the audience and then I'll piggyback off of that. Brother Damon, talk about your diabetes and the whole genetic thing that the doctor
With your
told you.
mom,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So, when I started noticing that I was on the same medications that my mother was on, because I was her caregiver, and I'm looking at her medications, and I'm like, I'm on the same thing. So when I talked to my doctor, he says, "Oh well, it's genetics, because your mother has it, so you're gonna get it, right?" So I'm looking at the doctor. I'm like, "Bruh, I'm adopted, right? We don't have the same genetics, you know." So it's clear. It's not our genetics. It's our dinner,
Right. Not
right?
our
It's
DNA,
our
our DNA.
diet.
Right. Right.
You get the same diseases as your mother and father because you technically eat the same food. You eat great grandma's secret fried chicken recipe that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and the macaroni and cheese, and the hog mog, and the chitlins, and all these other things that we eat that recipes are passed down. And not only that, if you look in our communities, the food that's available in our communities, in black communities. So they tell us it's genetic, and it's probably a small percentage that might be, but overall, we know if you change your diet, if you change how you eat, if you make sure that you exercise properly and you take the right supplements, you could definitely lower your high blood pressure, your high cholesterol. You could wipe diabetes away. I totally got off medication, and then when I had my car accident and I gained 45 pounds because I wasn't doing anything for a whole year, guess what came back? My diabetes came back because my weight went back up. So now I know personally, even with myself, when my weight went up, my diabetes came back. When I got down to 219 pounds, my diabetes went away. So guess what I'm trying to do? Get back down to 219 pounds.
Right.
Because I know at that weight, everything went away. So we have to start being more aware of how food and exercise and stress. A friend of mine, they watch him for cancer, prostate cancer. And one of the things he said that the doctor told him, don't get stressed. Do not get stressed, bruh, because that will activate your cancer. And who's the most stressed out ethnic group in America? It's the black community.
It's us. Yeah.
Right. So even our stress, even living in the black community, because there's already reports that say, we are in constant flight or fight mode,
Fight or flight. Yep.
which heightens your stress because of the high crime and the conditions we have in our communities. So all these are factors in creating you're putting your body in disease, which creates disease.
One of the things, Dr. Cedric said, he said, "Yo, you look good. What you been doing?" I said, "Yo, I'm on a partial plant-based diet. I lost 50 pounds, and you know what I'm saying, I'm doing a lot of exercise." And going into what you were talking about, you said it's not in your genetics if you can change it. Things that are genetic you can't change, like being black. So I wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
and I want to piggyback off of those points, brothers. To your point, brother Jones, and I love that example because it goes to show that a lot of our people, a lot of black people, don't question the doctor,
Right.
right? And that is to their detriment because the doctor is a paid help. He's not your God. You're paying him or her for his or her for their expert opinions, right? You should be having a conversation to the best of your abilities with the physician. You shouldn't just go and just take things and not question things. You should be an advocate, a self-care advocate, meaning
That's
that
right.
before you even go to your doctor's office, you should have a list of questions. about what you've observed, what you've experienced, what you think, what you'd like to know about, so that that visit can be more productive, more constructive to your health. Right? A lot of people would have heard, "Hey, it's genetics, it's in your genes," and they would have taken it at face value. And in your case, it just so happens that you had, a trump card which says, "Hey, I'm adopted, so how can it be genetic?"
Exactly.
The point being,
Exactly.
if you take an obese kid, I don't care how obese they are, and you put them in, let's say, Hulk Hogan's family, back in his prime, back when they were all working on all this stuff, and he did what Hulk Hogan did, and you came back 6 months to a year later, would that obese kid still be obese?
Right. No,
Absolutely
absolutely
not.
not.
It's
Yeah.
we know it's impossible. It is impossible. As in, there's not even a 1% chance he would stay obese, going to the gym, eating right, being physically. It is impossible. So why then do we just take this nonsense at face value of things being genetic? You see what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
So, and to your point, Brother Woodson, you're right. If you can change it, it's not genetic. If you can change, I cannot change my skin complexion. Well, these days you got surgical procedures, but I'm talking about things that you can change through just diet and lifestyle. Okay. If you can change something, then it is not entirely genetic. You can even get taller if you do certain exercises, right?
Right.
But the point being is, we have gotten comfortable with these answers. And like RFK said in the video, we're kind of like the boiling frog, where if you turn up the heat slowly over time, he never really notices that he's getting cooked
Right.
until it's gotten cooked, right?
Right.
And that's
Right.
where we are, where if you go back to the 1950s, for example, and you walked around, how many obese people did you see in the street? Right, compared to now, how many healthy and in shape people can you see in the street? So we've just been slowly getting boiled like the frog in the pot. We've just been slowly getting boiled, and now we've gotten accustomed to chronic disease, where if you turn 40, you turn 50, oh hey, you have high blood pressure, and we just accept it.
Right.
We don't question, we just accept, well, everybody
Right.
else has it. Well, just because they have it doesn't mean that's how it's meant to be. So once you eliminate the genetic excuse, which is something that our people have to deal with, and it is first and foremost psychological. Once you get rid of the genetic theory of chronic disease transmission, okay, then the question becomes, what then is contributing to these chronic diseases? And this is where you get in, and I talk about this in my book, you get into conversations about, the seed oils that we're eating, because
Right.
olive
Right.
oil, all these stuff, right? Grapeseed oil, the sugar that's in everything, white sugar in everything, the refined grains, refined bread, white rice, white this, white that, all of these refined products. Then you get into, things like the GMOs that's in our food, the genetic modification of food products that we are consuming, and how they're so-called quote unquote safe, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And then you get into food additives. Okay. You get into food additives, like the food coloring. You just showed us a video of RFK talking about tartrazine, one food dye contributing to all of these chronic conditions. There are hundreds of food dyes, sweeteners, emulsifiers, thickeners, flavor enhancers, and of course, preservatives that's in our foods. And one of the things is this, we talk about, let's say meat, right? They're putting nitrates and nitrites on processed meats to help preserve them. Okay. Those things have been shown to lead to colorectal cancer. We've known this. We've known this, right? So the problem itself isn't necessarily even the meat itself, or you could say the apple or the fruit. The problem is the things that mankind is doing on God's creation, the things that we are adding on the meats that's making them toxic, the things that we're doing to the foods and the fruits and the vegetables that's making them, GMO, that's causing all these issues. And so what, and I believe it is first and foremost a mental hurdle that we have to overcome. Once we overcome that
Right.
mental hurdle, then the words of Robert, the effort, make America healthy again, that RFK is trying to do, then it all falls into place.
This holiday season, give the gift of health at unbeatable prices. Vita Health Nutrition's Black Friday sale is here. Stock up on premium vitamins and supplements for up to 25% off. That's right, 25% off all products. From immune support to peak performance, we've got you covered. Premium multivitamins, advanced protein formulas, essential omega-3s, and much more. We never compromise on quality. Every product is made in FDA-registered facilities, third-party lab-tested, GMP certified, 100% manufactured in the USA. Don't miss out. Black Friday deals start now. All products are 25% off using code VITA25, your trusted partner in wellness. Shop now at vitahealthnutrition.us. Wait a minute. For our Black Westchester family, you get an extra 20% off. With code BW20, that's 45% off for your health and wellness. Vita Health Nutrition and Black Westchester Magazine are committed to the health and wellness of our communities. Don't miss out on this special deal for the holiday season. That's a total of 45% off for our Black Westchester family. Take advantage of this deal while it lasts. Black Westchester Magazine's People Before Politics show every Sunday at 6 p.m. It's the news with the Black point of view.